Hi, my name is Kayla White. I am a student at New York University Tisch School of the Arts, writer, and IBD advocate. I was initially diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, IBD, in May of 2020, and while my symptoms were fairly textbook, they progressed very rapidly, which led to me being on tons of medications before, at least three, and spending a whole month in the hospital in December of 2021. Due to the amount of inflammation that was in my gut and the amount of pain that I would be in when I tried to eat anything, my gastro team and my dietitian put me on TPN that was administered through a PICC line. When it was time for me to wean TPN, I had to rely heavily on nutritional supplements, in my case, Ensures. I had been on them for a little bit, but then due to not being able to intake anything orally, we stopped it. And then post, I was on them again. And just with my gut at the time, I could not handle the dairy versions of the drinks. So I was on a specific Ensure Clear. When I was a pediatric patient, there was a facility located in Virginia that would send the drinks to me monthly, and it was covered by insurance, and I'll be able to pick different flavors. As an adult patient trying to find this company again and go through the insurance process, we found out that the company was no longer in Virginia and there was no way that I would be able to use my insurance to get them. That led to over a year of paying for these drinks out of pocket. And to make matters even more frustrating, there was only one store that sold them and only one flavor they sold. Even though my family was already dealing with so much other stress, me in and out of the hospital, I've spent a collective over 6 months in the hospital between 2022 and 2024. We didn't have any choice because I needed these drinks in order to survive and gain weight and get some type of nutrition from the food that I was taking orally. And we wanted to minimize the risks that would come with wearing a PICC line extended amount of time. I'm fortunate enough to have had a pediatric and adult GI team that listened to me and truly tried everything before kind of putting the ball in my court. A big part of why I advocate within the IBD community is due to health equity, and how the care of so many Black patients are stifled by social determinants of health. I could only imagine not having a team that really cared about me, a family that was willing to speak up for me when I was in health situations where I couldn't properly talk for myself due to being in pain. And I think it's completely unfair to create so many obstacles for patients, especially for a disease that they themselves didn't cause. When I tell these stories, I always say my story isn't unique. By advocating and speaking with other patients with inflammatory bowel disease, you quickly see how many of our stories overlap and how some people have been through things that are worse than what you've been through. I'm fortunate enough to have had my ostomy surgeries work now, and I no longer need Ensures or PICC lines or anything like that, but that doesn't mean that my journey is over. And I think when you're in such a critical point in your care where you're trying everything to get the nutrition that you need, to not be in pain, to improve your quality of life, you should have every tool in your arsenal and shouldn't have these arbitrary things stopping your care. Patients need reliable systems where they can access medical nutrition. They already have so many other things to deal with. Let's make something easy. There needs to be a policy change.